What's up YouTube, I'm just another guy and welcome to the F1 2013 series here on my channel. So we're in China, we're in Shanghai here with our Lotus, and we're aiming to again pick up some decent points, as after the first two races we find ourselves in a very promising position. So it's a wet qualifying and a dry race, which put me in a difficult situation. I had to choose, do I go for a dry setup for the race, do I go for a wet setup, or do I go for one kind of in between so I try and get the best of both worlds? And in the end I went for a completely dry setup. That's what you're seeing right here. Feel free to pause it and go back and look at it. I do get my setups from a website. If you're interested in that, I'll put the link in the description below, because I'm terrible at trying to make my own things. On here I wouldn't have a clue where to start, and I don't really want to learn. But here is my first flying lap, and as you can see I've got near to no grip. Massa was losing it a little bit on the corner. He's not on a flying lap though. We are, and we completely lose our rear end there, and as a result it's going to cost us a lot of time. So yeah, that was the first lap pretty much screwed up there. But I thought I have to get time in, you know, I don't really need to pull out of it right now. We have a Force India coming up to the right of us. It's used our slipstream, and I think it's got a better setup for the wet weather, therefore it's getting a lot more speed. I don't know, it was just, the Force India somehow was able to keep up with us there. So I had to try and keep him behind him. I didn't want him ruining my next lap. But yeah, we just really lack control out there on the wet weather. This clearly wasn't a setup for the wet weather. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I decided I want to go for being as fast as I could in the race, and I was going to sacrifice a bit of qualifying pace. So 152.014, not a very fast time. If you look up on the left, we see we're already down to 4th, with a lot of the midfield teams already overtaking us. So that's not good. This meant I really had to push and try and get a good second lap. And here we go. We hit the curve, and there we just lose the rear end completely, and that cost me a lot of time. Look, me trying to recover it still. I just lost a lot of control, and in the end I just pull out of the lap straight away. I think there's no real point. I've lost too much time in the first few corners for me to make up for it over the course of the lap. Save my time, save my fuel, save my tyres, go out there and do another flying lap on this stint. So that's what I did. That's why I've switched to lean mix there. And then here on my third and final flying lap on this set of tyres, I ran out of fuel in the final sector along this long straight, and that's why I pulled out here, and I'm letting cars overtake me. I don't want to get in the way and get any sort of warning or penalty for obstructing or things like that. But really frustrating. Third lap, it still wasn't great. I wasn't faster in any of the three sectors, and again, the setup I was using really wasn't suited for this weather in the qualifying. So I decided I was going to go in. I wasn't going to come out again unless conditions improved to a point where I could put on intermediate tyres, and sadly that didn't happen, so I ended up qualifying in 18th place, just ahead of the midfield cars, which isn't good, especially when you compare that to my teammate Kimi Raikkonen, who finished in 6th, or qualified in 6th, sorry. There's a massive difference between the two of us, and it's not really acceptable that I qualified in 18th, so I need to really rethink my strategies next time if there is a wet qualifying and a dry race, because I need to be considering qualifying isn't as important as the race, but it's still, you know, it still bears some significance on the final result of the weekend. So that was the rest of the grid there. You could see this is my race strategy, option and prime tyres coming in on lap 6. Something I wanted to point out, that Kimi Raikkonen, I previously said, was qualified in 6th, but you'll see here with Lewis Hamilton in 3rd, first not 3rd, and Kimi Raikkonen actually in 4th, which means 2 cars in front of him got 10 place grid penalties. Sadly, that didn't benefit me in any direct way. I wasn't pushed up the grid, but a few of the drivers clearly had a few incidents in the later qualifyings. But anyway, back to the race for 5 red lights. And away we go for the Chinese Grand Prix. We have Maldonado directly in front of us to the left. Gutierrez is 16th. We're going to make sure we don't any of the back markers swarm past us, but sadly we don't get the best of starts because of that. Van der Garde's around our outside. We're going to make sure we don't lose any more places. Going to take things very cautiously for the first few corners. Don't want to be giving up any positions, but also don't want to be giving away any penalties and you know, have things come back and bite me in the arse later on in the race. So taking it as cautiously as I can whilst trying to gain positions. Still in P17, that's only 1 position up, but at least I'm gaining some positions. Down this next braking zone, I'm going to be trying to close the gap and overtake a few more cars again. So I was diving up the inside of a lot of cars. They're actually side by side now with McLaren. It is Jason Button as well. So had to give him a little bit of room. Didn't want to force him onto the grass, and again didn't want to get any kind of warning or anything. So it's up to P13 now. We have Button, Di Resta, and I'm guessing that's Alonso ahead. I think he was down in 13th. He must have got a penalty because there's no way he can qualify that low. But we've really caught up to them now. We're right behind them. And again, up to this next braking zone, we're going to be trying to fly past a few cars, see if we can overtake and gain a few more positions. There we go, past the 2 British drivers. And we're right behind now Sutil and Alonso. seeing if we can get 10th or 9th off them. And I've still got my full curves, which I'm just applying now. I probably applied it a little bit too early. Never too sure when to use it down this long straight, because it's better to use it while you're on low speeds coming out of corners. But yeah, but anyway, I used it there and trying to use the slipstream of Sutil. Sutil's now gone side by side with Alonso, so trying to use any of their slipstreams, just trying to build as much speed as I can and come down to the braking zone. We fly past both of them, but brake a little bit too late, and as a result, we missed the apex by a mile, and it allows Sutil to creep up the inside, and means we're only up to P10. And now we're going to go side by side with Sutil, hit the bollard, force Sutil a little bit wide, but it's fair, it's all clean apparently, according to whatever the game, and it puts us over the P9, and that's the job of trying to chase Perez whilst keeping Sutil behind us. And now go a little bit wide, coming into the first corner. Sutil tries to sneak up our inside, but we shut that door as quickly as we can, and also no contact, so again, fair, clean driving. Now we have Perez is the man in front of us, is the man we need to be gaining. It's about two and a half seconds, I think it was, ahead of us, and that's our job for the next few laps before we finish this stint, to try and catch Perez and see if we can overtake him and then focus on Massa ahead of him. So cutting on now to lap 3, our tyres are quite badly worn, not to the point where they're falling off the cliff, but still a little bit worn. And as you see, we've really closed the gap on Perez now. As we cross the start-finish line, you'll see it has dropped down by about a second from when we last crossed the start-finish line. We've pulled a little bit of a gap between Alonso behind us. It's now 1.372 to Perez and 1.128 to Alonso, which means no cars behind us are going to get DRS, but we're not going to get DRS on Perez either. So it means we're going to have to try and push as hard as we can on this lap, because I don't know how long my tyres will be able to last, because they will start dropping off at some point, and as a result my lap times will as well. So while I can, I need to really use the life in them. So that's the idea. We need to be getting that 1 second gap between now and the DRS point, detection point. So 1.333 still between me and Perez, but Alonso has gained on us a little bit. He's now only 400th really of a second behind, off of getting that DRS zone, DRS on the long straight. So come on, we need to do this. I'm not a huge fan of Sector 2 here, and especially these few corners, the curves always seem to come back and hit me hard, or cost me a lot of time there. But I didn't do it on that time, so hopefully we'll be getting a good lap. See if we can gain as much time on this braking zone, because if we do, we're really close to him. I mean, there's got to be less than a second. There's the DRS activation zone, detection zone, sorry, back there. And it looked like we were in a second. I mean, I'm not too sure, but to me it looked like we were well in the second point. Depends how Alonso was behind us. Coming down this straight now, we're trying to use the slipstream of Perez. We used the remainder of our curves. We've now got DRS wide open. Can we get Perez down on this braking zone? That is the question. Not close enough, sadly, and almost making a little bit of contact with him there. Almost giving him a love tap on the back just to say, hey, I'm right behind you now. You better start thinking about me. But it doesn't phase him obviously too much. He's an AI. But anyway, so we haven't caught him there. We're going to give the DRS rad again on this start-finish straight under the UBS signs. And now just 6 tenths, almost 7 tenths behind Perez. But also Alonso had DRS on both of them straights and has caught up to us quite drastically. And not the best few corners here, but still very close to Perez, pretty much right on his gearbox, as well as Alonso is on ours. We're battling hard, and as a result, Massa and the other cars have pulled ahead. Perez has kind of dropped back from the front pack. I think he must be running on lean mix, and we tried to get him down this braking zone. That's probably a risky maneuver, and almost Alonso trying to sneak up our inside there, because trying as hard as I can just to outbrake Perez and trying to get around him. Really quite an adventurous move there. I mean, I was never close enough to make a move, and I didn't really deserve to try and outbrake him. But we're still in a respectable gap, and we still should be able to get DRS down this next straight. This is me going terribly wide. Look, it's going to cost me so much time, especially bobbling over that curb. It's really horrible once you go wide on it. But again, are we going to have enough? Is it going to be close enough for Perez? Can we get him down to this braking zone? It looks like we're in that second gap. Depends though, I'm not too sure, especially when you're going through slow corners. It's hard to tell whether you're in that second gap. But I'd say we should be getting DRS down this straight. We use the remainder of our curves. Actually, we have a Red Bull off to the left of us. It's Sebastian Vettel, which means he puts us into P8, which is where we need to be. It's where the team wants me to be, and for me, that's a decent enough amount of points for today, especially after our poor qualifying. And it doesn't look like we have the pace in the race either. But still, Perez is the main priority. We didn't get DRS down that straight, which is very annoying and frustrating, because I'm sure Alonso did. Well, Button's directly behind us now, so I'm sure Button and Alonso did have DRS, and they were battling hard. But I think the life in our tyres now are just starting to fall off. We've got to be pitting in at the end of this lap that we've just started, so I mean, you can quite literally tell we've got no life left in these tyres. Perez has pulled off such a gap, and if you compare that to a lap or two ago when we were really closing up on Perez on this sector of the race, I think the tyres are now playing a big part, and now we've got Button directly behind us. We've got to worry about maintaining this position, keeping this position, rather than pushing forward and trying to get 7th place of Perez. We've got to make sure Button and Alonso behind us don't overtake us. So see if we can pull off a push, grow a gap between them and make sure they don't get DRS. But it doesn't help when you go wide in the corners, and as you see my rear end kicking out there, which means the grip on the rear tyres is completely fallen off. This isn't good, this isn't ideal, and I probably should have pitted a lap early if I really wanted to be aggressive in this race, try and go for the undercut, but I didn't. I decided I wanted to stick to the plan that the team have given me, that the race engineer gave me, and something I've got to stick with now. It's a little too late if I want to do anything, and now Button is pretty much side by side with me coming up to his braking zone. I should have maybe let him overtake me, so I could have had DRS coming down this long straight. It would have helped massively, but I didn't at the time. I decided I want to be in front of him as much as I can, as long as I can. I don't want to be giving him a very easy position. So I think they're going to end up to come back and shoot me in the foot, because as we see right now, Alonso without even DRS, he's right beside us. Now with DRS, he's just going to fly by. No chance in hell we're going to catch him now. See if I can maybe pull off something on the braking zone, but again, we're not close enough. I do actually tap Alonso there. Maybe should have tried to move to the inside. I maybe could have taken him by the looks of it. If I've tapped him a little bit, I could have parked my car over the apex, but I didn't. And now Button is directly behind us, and we're both going to come to the pit. Alonso in front of us. I believe Button is coming in behind us. I do see him in the mirrors there. There he is. The camera showed you that. But we're coming into the pit on lap 6 in P9. Really, that should be P8. I shouldn't have allowed Alonso to overtake me there. Maybe should have gone a little bit more defensive, a little bit more aggressive on the braking zone, but I didn't. Again, I don't want to really risk anything. I want to be making sure I'm driving as clean as possible, just because I don't really want to be shoving cars off the track and getting 10-second penalties. That's going to hurt more than losing a position and losing a few seconds. So coming out the pits, it's really important that I get an aggressive start on this stint. Doesn't help when I go wide in corners, and I know that if I allow Alonso this fresh air in front of him, this, you know, the space to push the car to its limits, it's going to outrun me. It's going to form a gap, and it's going to be maybe P9, P8, wherever it comes out after the pits. It's going to be that position gone, because basically I don't have the race pace, and it's really frustrating to say that, because in practice I was in second. So cutting on now to lap 11, and like I said, Alonso has pulled out a gap. There is no way we're catching him. In fact, he's going to probably gain a few positions in front of us, because if we look on the little map on the corner, we see Raikkonen in that mix of cars there. But more importantly, we've got Button directly behind us now. He's only a 10th separating me and him as we come to this DRS activation point. Here we go, that was a detection point there, but we come to the activation zone. He's going to be right on top of me. He's going to be using the slipstream. Here we go, full tank of KERS, which I should be using right now. I probably used it a little bit too late there, but look at that, Button now side by side with us at the DRS, wide open. He's going to pull past us. We really should be trying to shift to the inside now, which I do, and I'm going to see if I can keep P9 for a little bit longer. I parked my car over the apex there, doing what I probably should have done against Alonso a few laps ago. And we go up into P9 yet again. I'm sure it's just a temporal thing, because Button has been flying. He's caught up to us after the pit stop, and he's right on top of us. We've now pulled out a little bit of a gap, but he's going to have DRS yet again, which means he's going to be right on top of us in the next few sectors. And it's going to have to be some pretty good defending from me if I want to last the remaining few laps and keep P9. Because, you know, every little point helps. It could, you know, the difference here between the points now and whatever we get at the end of the race could be the difference between the Constructors or the Drivers' Championship come the end of the season. And I want to try and win the Constructors and the Drivers if I can here with Lotus. I think the car is good enough to do that. A good time difference now. Alonso 10 seconds ahead, really is blitzing it. Not my favourite track, China, and it's showing here 10 seconds separating us and Alonso. But Button is behind us now, and that is the main thing. Like I say, he's only 3 temps, and I'm sure through Sector 2, because it's not my favourite sector and it's just a few corners here really do catch me out. I go either a little bit too slow, or I go wide or whatever. And I'm sure Alonso has caught on us. If sadly I didn't flick back at this time. Not only that, though, we go to -1 lap of fuel, and with the limited amount of laps left, I didn't really want to risk anything. I go straight back to standard, but then go no, down this straight with Button directly behind us. I've got to go rich. I've got to put everything I possibly can into keeping P9. I can't allow Button to overtake me. This could be the difference, like I say, come the end of the season. And I don't want to be, you know, looking back now and saying if I defended a little bit harder, I got that one more point, I could have been a difference. So Button now using his DRS, using everything he can. He's overtaking me, but I can't shift to the inside in time. In the end, I give him a tap. And that means I've got to go around the outside, which, I mean, that's a near impossible situation overtaking. And still on Rich, I know I'm going to get DRS down this start, finish straight. So coming down this start, finish straight, we have Button directly ahead of us. We need to make sure we can do it. Come on, DRS. Come on, the extra horsepower that DRS flap, that extra downforce gives us. Can we go past him on this first corner? Very aggressive. In the end, I pull out of it. I know I don't want to cause an incident. I don't want to lose my front wing. I don't want to have to pit an extra time. And I pull out of it there, but we're still right on top of him. We could be able to get him down this next braking zone. That is the thing. We need to make sure we're as close as we can. The tyres now are starting to lose their life a little bit as well. I can feel it. I can feel I'm losing grip, which means it's now or never, basically. Can I overtake him? It's got to be in this next braking zone or not. And I go diving down the inside, end up outbraking myself, end up going off the track, and as a result, Button's going to end up taking 9th and drive off into the sunset. And sadly, I think that is where we're going to end. We're going to end up finishing in P10. We've got the rest of 7 seconds behind, but that's too much of a gap for him to close in that time. So this is where we're going to end on the final lap. Lewis Hamilton has won the Grand Prix. And look at me just weaving a little bit, trying to just get to the end. I had to go on lane mix for the majority of the last few laps. This is to make up that one lap of fuel, that negative 1 lap of fuel that I was on. But what a shame that we couldn't catch Jenson Button. That is a real tragedy. And couldn't, you know, overtake him yet again and get P9. And if I'd maybe fought a little bit harder for Alonso, would I have gained that position? I don't know. But we're going to go across the line in P10. It's a point. It's at least just 1 point gained. We didn't get 8th like the team wanted us. Raikkonen got 5th, which is a decent points haul for him. But for us, for the Drivers' Championship, a point earned is a point earned. We can't be too bitter about that, considering really we lacked the race pace. If we compare the times, we were just quicker than we were in the right position based on the fastest times. So that's the Drivers' Championship. We are currently in 3rd with 41 points. Currently find ourselves 14 off of Rosberg. But you know, a win in the next race, and all of a sudden we're in a much brighter position. So this is going to be it for now, guys. Next time I meet you back will be the Bahrain Grand Prix, where I'm thinking of doing a 50% race. What that will mean is maybe a few more highlights for you. I don't really know yet. I haven't raced it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give it a like. It tells me that you want to see more, and I'll try and pump out as many of these as I can for the foreseeable future. So until next time, peace out.